Hello, and welcome to Bennett and I's Stat Project video. Today, we will be talking about how the wording of a question in a survey of randomly selected people can cause a response bias.
For our question, we asked, who is a better hockey player, John Tavares or Tyler Seguin? But to prove response bias, through wording of the question, we asked, who is the better hockey player, Tyler Seguin, who was drafted second overall in 2010 and has scored 283 points at the age of 23, or Jonathan Tavares?
In order to carry out this process to prove how the wording of a question can cause for response bias, we numbered every SJJ student 1 through 695 and then used a random number generator in our calculators to select 50 students without replacement. The first 25 randomly selected were asked the biased question, and the next 25 randomly selected were asked the unbiased question. When we asked both the unbiased and biased questions to these randomly selected students, we filmed each of them and made sure no other students helped in their answer to our survey.
Some of the unbiased questions that we filmed.
But I'm nervous now.
Okay, let's go. Ow. No. Right, who's a better hockey player, Tyler Seguin or Jonathan Tavares?
I don't know who either of those people are.
just answer one more. Tyler Seguin. Alright, who do you think is the better hockey player, Jonathan Tavares or Tyler Seguin?
I'd have to say Tyler Seguin.
The all-star himself. Who's a better hockey player, Jonathan Tavares or Tyler Seguin?
Tyler Hayden.
So, who's a better hockey player, Jonathan Tavares or Tyler Seguin?
Hayden Wyper.
Here are some of the biased questions that we filmed. Who's a better hockey player? Tyler Seguin, who was drafted second overall in 2010 and has 283 points at only the age of 23, or John Tavares?
Tyler Seguin.
Alright, so who's the better hockey player? Tyler Seguin, who was drafted second overall and has 283 points at only the age of 23, or John Tavares?
I don't really know how to say the names, but the first one.
Alright, who's the better hockey player? Tyler Seguin, who has 283 points and was drafted second overall in 2010 and is only 23 years old, or John Tavares?
I gotta say Tyler Seguin.
Who's a better hockey player? Tyler Seguin, who was drafted second overall in 2010 and has scored 283 points at only the age of 23, or John Tavares?
First guy.
First guy? Who's the better hockey player? Tyler Seguin, who was drafted second overall in 2010 and has scored 283 points at the age of 23, or John Tavares?
Well, since I don't really know hockey as much, I'm gonna have to go with the stats here and go with the first guy.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic choice. Good work, good work.
As you can see by this graph, when asked the unbiased question, 12 students answered that Tyler Seguin was the better player, while 13 answered that John Tavares is the better player. When students were asked the biased question favoring Tyler Seguin, 23 answered that Tyler Seguin was the better overall player, while only 2 answered that John Tavares was the better overall player. Observing the raw data, we see that when asked the unbiased question, 12 out of 25 students answered in favor of Tyler Seguin, which equates to 48%, and 13 out of 25 students answered in favor of John Tavares, which equates to 52%. And when students were asked the biased question, 23 out of 25 answered in favor of Tyler Seguin, equating to 92%, and only 2 out of 25 answered in favor of John Tavares, equating to 8%.
Oh, hey, the only possible errors we were able to find in our project were that 1, students had previous knowledge of the NHL players and were not swayed by our statistics, and 2, that the students knew the purpose of our project and picked the unbiased answer to be rebellious.
So as you can tell from our data, when asked the unbiased question, students actually picked Tyler Seguin 48% of the time and John Tavares 52% of the time. But then when the questions had a bias towards Tyler Seguin talking about his accolades, the data drastically shifted to 92% voting in his favor as opposed to 8% of the votes for Jonathan Tavares, thus proving that if a question is worded a certain way with little prior knowledge of the subject of the question, bias in the response is almost inevitable.